Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me. Igdalia here. I have a special guest, Crystal Bear Lawson, that is will be sharing her story. If you haven't subscribed, please make sure to subscribe so you can get notified of all these great interviews of all these amazing fighters that we have. Crystal, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. Tell us, how is it that you got into martial arts?
So I got into martial arts, I'd say probably around, I guess closer to 13 years ago now. I went to school for all sorts of different things, so I know a little bit of everything about a little bit of everything. I would say I'm a jack of all trades. But I'm just big about like following your heart, and I was never just completely satisfied with what I was doing. And I watched Master Toddy's Tough Girls documentary, and it was Gina Carano, Felice Herrig, I believe, is on that one, a few others. And as soon as I watched it, I had never been like an athlete or anything. I didn't even know I was athletic at all, to be honest. You know, I had like maybe lifted weights a few times. But I saw them like elbowing the bag, and he had them like crawling on their elbow, just like stuff that you probably wouldn't really do. But I just fell in love with it, and I said, that's what I want to do. So the next day I found a gym, and then I had my first fight 6 months later, which
Wow.
I fought against a girl who had been training for several years, and won that fight. And I've just kind of continued ever since. And it's one of the only things that like I said, I like a lot of good things. I like a lot of good things. All things are good. I like a lot of stuff, and I'm good at a lot of stuff, but it's the only thing that I just like enjoy all the time, and I've just like had a genuine love for so long, and that love has never like went away or changed. I mean, there's highs and lows, but it's something that I've continuously just loved.
Now, when you did your first fight, what martial arts was it?
Muay Thai. Muay Thai is my background, and that's my love. If it were up to me, I would fight Muay Thai all the time. You know, I should be in Thailand this past year. I still have a plane ticket waiting, but obviously with the travel bans and things like that. But Muay Thai is what I love. But with my weight, and things like that, it's hard to find fights and stay consistent. So I fought mainly just Muay Thai. MMA is more recent. I mean, I've had like 5 MMA fights, but they've been all split up. So just like, and I've done a few grappling tournaments, but for MMA, it's kind of been off and on, and it's been in between Muay Thai fights. So that's why me taking this the past fight that I did was my bare knuckle MMA debut. So a lot of people don't realize that, although I'm like really experienced, I'm not really experienced in MMA. I'm still just really learning MMA. I'm still learning. I'm just jumping head first.
Yeah. How do you feel about the different types of combats that you are practicing? Because you're doing, your passion is Muay Thai, and I know MMA is completely different. But then you did bare knuckle, which is like another level of it. How do you feel about all those different types?
Like I said, Muay Thai is always going to be my number one love. There's no comparison to that for me, because it is just like, it's such an art. It's so beautiful. It's like a dance. I mean, there's so much respect. There's so much honor. You have 5 rounds most of the time, and it's back and forth. It's being able to see, like, it's more like a chess match, and MMA, there's so many more aspects to it, where you have to be sure your wrestling's good, you have to be sure your jiu-jitsu is good. Me personally, it's very hard for me to learn jiu-jitsu, and I've been very open and honest about that. It's something that I have to learn more anti-jiu-jitsu, I guess, because my brain just doesn't necessarily pick that up as well. Especially, it's really hard for a Thai boxer to transition over. Once they do, the ones that have done it have been very successful, but it's harder because you're in such a mindset of just, standing and striking. So that's the most difficult part, in my opinion. But it's just so many facets. And then, being just so well-rounded at everything. The bare knuckle aspect, that was pretty intriguing to me. People talked about just doing bare knuckle boxing, and I was like, I don't know, because I'm not just a boxer. I didn't want to take away my kicks, my knees, my elbows, and just go straight to boxing. I've never boxed before, and I just didn't think that was probably a smart decision for me. And I'm not a brawler. I am a technical fighter. And so, but bare knuckle MMA really appealed to me because I was like, okay, well, I still have my other weapons. Again, maybe I'm still learning MMA, but this is just such a cool opportunity. And for me to grow in the sport and get to do it bare knuckle, I just thought it was really cool. I enjoyed training it. Honestly, outside of like getting cuts and stuff, it's not like when you're wearing boxing gloves and you're getting hit a lot. Yes, you're taking more damage in the way of cuts, but you're not getting hit so much. And honestly, like, your adrenaline's going. People think like when you're in practice or something, like maybe it hurts getting hit with bare knuckle, but when you're in there, you don't feel it.
What about your mental state through that? I mean, I know, when people are cutting weight and they're going through all their fight camps, there's a certain stress that comes with it. Did it change knowing that it was going to be bare knuckle?
No, not at all. Actually, I was more excited just because I know I hit really hard. So I was like, man, all I got to do is put my hands on somebody. Like, I can drop people in MMA gloves and boxing gloves. So I'm like, take the gloves off. Like, I know I could end somebody's night. So I was really excited about it. There were a lot of things that, went down in the fight that, a lot of people don't know. And I don't like to make excuses, but, things didn't turn out my way. It sucks because of who it was and history we had. But no, the aspect of fighting bare knuckle for me, it didn't change anything. I was actually just as excited.
Yeah, I mean, I know fighting alone, it's both a love and hate thing because you're excited to do it, but you also have all the stressors that come with it. And in the same time, it's like you're training and you're doing all this, but life keeps going. So you're dealing with all this day-to-day life activity that you have to find some sort of balance. How do you find a balance between your personal and your professional career?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty hard. I teach yoga classes, I teach bag classes, so that's what I do for a job. I'm doing like dog obedience courses. My family is very supportive, when it comes to a few weeks before the fight, I don't want to say probably, but I know I'm definitely a little more difficult to deal with because I like my own space. I like my own time. So it's probably going to be like, okay, I'm going to be in the loft or I'm going to be in the room and I'm probably going to, watch movies and just have my downtime when I'm not training. But everybody's like super supportive where if I'm doing my shuttle runs or I'm doing something, usually just like the whole family will kind of go along. I take my dog, he runs with me. So, that part's pretty easy, but it definitely is a balance because you're like, when you have a family and you have kids and you have pets, like, it's not like you can just be a Ronin. You're preparing for a war, but yet then you also got to be like a regular person too. So it's like, how do you be a regular person and a warrior? So those things cross your mind. It's like, okay, well, like let's say a week before, like I went to the fair and it's like, it's weird because that like, hey, I'm about to fight next week. I'm about to go in here and do this bare knuckle fight. But this week I'm just trying to go ride some rides. It's like weird.
How important is it for you or any other fighter to just kind of take a step away and recharge? Because the training alone is very time consuming, mentally, physically, emotionally. How important is it to just take a moment to just kind of like grasp everything?
Yeah, I mean, that's super important. That's one of my number one things. Mental is such a huge aspect. So I don't care if it's right before the fight. I don't care if it's the week of the fight. I don't care if it's a few weeks before the fight. And even after, at any time, there's a difference in being stressed about a fight, right? Or your body just knowing like, hey, or your mind just knowing like, hey, I just need a break from this. I just need this day, or I just need to take today off and just like do me, whether it's just watch Netflix or just take a walk or whatever it is. Like, you having that time is just so important. There's definitely days where, I do deal with anxiety. I deal with depression at times. So for me personally, it's very important that if I feel like it's one of those days, I'm not going to be sedentary and do nothing, but maybe it's, instead of me going to the gym to do this thing, maybe I'm going to go to the mountains and I'm going to take my dog for a run or something, just to kind of get myself back on track.
Now, during these times, you're preparing for a fight, you're doing your business, you're trying to balance your family. Do you find yourself doing more yoga during these times to help you like balance yourself, ground yourself, and be more mindful, or you don't, it's just the same?
I try to. This past one I definitely did, because like I said, for me, this fight was more personal. I've never fought. I always fight just to compete, and because I love it, and it's a fight, and a fight is a fight. But for me, I knew this one was going to be the most mentally challenging fight I'd ever had, not in the ring, but leading up to it, because the person I was fighting is such a trash talker. She has said a lot of stuff about my family, and obviously she denies everything, but she knows the truth. But so for me, going into this one, I knew that it was about staying off of social media, not reading what people were saying. So it was very important for me actually adding in more yoga and things like that, just times when I knew like, okay, maybe you want to see what people are saying on the internet, to just be like, no, like, what you need to do is go breathe. So yeah, I incorporated that a lot more. And then just also outside of that, just the MMA aspects, taking so much more wear and tear on your body. Yoga was a really important part of this camp too.
So how is it that you're able to separate yourself because now not only are you separating yourself because you're sacrificing time with your family, you're dedicating time to training, you are trying to keep your mental health on point, because this takes a toll on your body, mentally, physically, emotionally. And then on top of that, you have to deal with all this type of bullying and hate. How are you able to
compartmentalize?
Thank you. The word was not coming out. How are you able to do that? Because it's very important for people to understand that if they don't know how to do it, maybe you can give them a few tips, because it's not easy.
Yeah, I would say before the fight, like I said, anybody that, most of the time I don't have this problem, but anybody that I knew may have something negative to say or anything like that, you just get blocked. You're just not on my friends anymore. I'm not going to look at it. Or if I start to see that, I'm going to put that person on snooze or whatever, because I don't want to see that kind of stuff. So anything, just don't look at it. After the fight, there are so many people, whether you win, whether you lose, whether you knock someone out, no matter what you do, there's going to be a lot of people that love you on the internet, and there's going to be just as many people talking trash, like about everybody, no matter who you are, no matter what you do. So it's about just not reading and it's hard. It's really hard, because some comments are funny, but it's honestly just, once you learn to not read that stuff, because whether you know it's true or not, it to some degree is going to get in your head a little bit, and you're going to be like, oh, well, like maybe I do suck, or maybe this, or maybe that. So it's about just honestly, like, just not looking at it. And it's hard to do because your brain, I mean, you're curious, you want to know, but why? Like, why do we care what other people say? Because we're human beings, and that's just what we do. So it's about, I guess, just getting to a point of just not looking. Like there's days I want to check out these comments, and I literally just stop myself. I'm like, nope, go do something else. You got something better to do, because I know it's just like it's not going to help me feel any better. So if it's not helping me rise to the next occasion, don't be part of it.
So you've dealt with depression and anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
How has martial arts helped you get through it?
Always having goals, having something to work towards, having an outlet for different feelings and emotions, knowing that you can get on the mats and be able to express yourself that way, even if you don't necessarily always feel like going to the gym, you never regret it, right? So like I never leave and say, man, that sucks. I mean, maybe I have a hard session and I feel like I suck that day, but you never leave saying, oh, I wish I didn't go today. It's always something that's like positive for you and makes you feel better about yourself, and you know that you've gained control over your emotional well-being, because you got to suck up your feelings, you got to suck up your emotions, and you got to go in there and you have something that needs to be done. So it helps a lot.
Yeah, I find that training martial arts is so rewarding. It is something that, unless people experience it, they will never really truly understand.
Right.
Because you can get all of that, like that energy, all that negative energy that is, consuming you. You can let it out in a healthy manner, and you leave there like a brand new person.
Yeah, for sure.
And it is just so rewarding. Like, my advice to everybody who's listening is, if you've never gone and taken a class of martial arts, doesn't really matter what it is, do it for like at least a month. Because the first time you get there, you're probably going to be like, oh, I'm not good at this. And then the second time is, oh, I can't believe I did that. And then the third time you're like, oh, I kind of get it. And then, you know what I mean? It takes a process, but like, even if you don't go back after the sixth time or the seventh time, but your body will feel renewed, and eventually it'll crave it again, and it'll help get where you need to be, instead of depending on, for me, sugar. I'll go and get sweets. Like, that's forget it. I'm having a stressful day. Let me go grab a donut. And then I'm like, oh, I know I shouldn't have done this, but that's okay. I already bought it. Let me give back to the economy, like some sort of excuse,
Yeah.
But and then, you're on the treadmill and you're like, crap, how much was that donut? It was 500 calories. Oh, I got to be freaking burning 500 calories. And then I can start my actual thing. You know what I mean? But it's something that people should do because it makes you feel better. Everything that, people try to destroy you, you go in there and you feel so much better. Like,
yeah, and it gives you confidence. And I think that's one thing, is that a lot of people feel like they don't have control. And that's one thing that causes a lot of people's anxiety, I would assume. And doing martial arts and doing something for yourself and your body and keeping yourself healthy is, you're taking control. You're taking the control back,
Yeah, and that's so important. It gives you a sense of control. And on every level. It doesn't even matter. It just gives you a sense of control. And when you get in the ring or you get in the cage, what is your mindset? Like, what is it that you're thinking? Are you thinking, I don't know, finally I'm here? Or are you thinking, I'm going to finish this? Or are you thinking, let's have some fun? Or are you thinking all of it?
Yeah, honestly, you think all of it. It's a whole process. You're in the back warming up and you're getting ready, and before you walk out, you just, for me personally, you just change. There's a switch that flips, and it's time to go in and do your job and do your business, and I drop all emotion. I'm generally kind of to myself right beforehand, but I'm definitely not an emotional fighter. So for me, when I walk in, it's all right, like it's time to do whatever we need to do to be successful tonight, to win. And generally you may have a game plan, and bare knuckle, a game plan goes out the window in 2 seconds, that's for sure. But yeah, it's all business for me. I'm in there to go out there and do exactly what I've trained for, exactly what my body has been repeating and doing, and it's time to put it all into action. I'm not an emotional fighter at all. I think maybe when I very first started fighting, I was, and that wasn't good. But once you take emotion out of it and you look at it like, this is war, this is what I have to do, and you go in there and you do your job, you just perform so much better. I'd love to get to a place where it's not that I don't think it's fun. I do think it's fun, but man, it's stressful. I mean, it is also stressful. I mean, you're about to go out and fight another person who wants to fight you too, who's also after the same goals as you. I mean, there's so many emotions. So it's stressful, it's scary, it's everything. But once you're in there, like once you're in the ring, or once you're in the cage, and once the door locks, like you're not thinking about any of that. All of that goes away. Like you don't really hear anything beside your corner. It's just it's laser focused most of the time.
Yes. So let me figure this out. During your camp, right? During your camp, is that your hibernation? And then when you get into the ring or the cage, is that when the bear comes out? Because where did you get bear from?
One of my old coach gave me the name Bear years ago. Gosh, I guess it's probably been about 10 or 11 years ago, just because like I am such like a calm person, and I like to do fun stuff, and I'm like super girly. But when it comes to my training, like I am really aggressive. I am like very hardcore about it. So it's like, oh, you're like a bear. Like you look sweet, but like really dangerous. So that's where the name came from. And but yeah, so it just kind of stuck. Never left.
That's awesome. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us before we conclude with this interview?
Yeah, bare knuckle is just a whole nother breed of fighting. I think that it is going to continue to grow and expand, and more people are going to get turned on to it. There's a lot of stuff that happened in the fight that I haven't told a lot of people, but there's things you can't prepare for in a fight. For instance, as soon as I never got hit hard except for once. It was a grazing shot that cut my eye. So when you're in a Muay Thai fight or an MMA fight, probably it's going to be stopped for a second, right? So they can like get the blood out and check it. But when you're in there, there's no stopping. So I had my eye is like filled with blood. I can't see, and your fight or flight kicks in. So all I know at this point is you forget about footwork, you forget about hands, you know that you just have to keep moving forward. So at that point, shots aren't landing because you can't tell how far you are from someone. Like I feel like I'm like right here, but really I'm like all the way here, right? And then my boob kept popping out of my bra. This has never happened. I don't know if it was the weight cut or what, but literally it happened once. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So you're trying to stay focused, and this is happening. Everybody's like, you should just have let it come out. I'm like, you're not in there. You can't say like what you're like. You've got all these cameras around you. So it happened again. And then on the third time, when I went to put it back in, and I had 2 sports bras on, mind you. That's when I got hit with the only hard shot that hit me, which is why my eyes are black, because it like drained down to here. But to her credit, I mean, and that's why someone with she's I think got 13 MMA fights. When she saw me doing that, that's when she hit me, and that's when she took me down. So to her credit, I mean, good for her for that. But like I said the only way I would lose this fight is if something ridiculously freaky happened. And 9 times out of 10, and I stand by that. If this would have been a Muay Thai fight or even a regular fight, any other time, honestly, any other day, like I don't know if you saw this epic weigh-in video that happened, where she pushed me and I went off. Like I said, I'm all about respect and honor, but after all the things she said, like that was just me, man. Like that's just the real me. And people want to say like you should never talk trash or you should be respectful. Like this girl's been so disrespectful for me for so long, and like after years of all this built up, me allowing her to talk a certain way to me, like I just was fed up and I wasn't going to take it anymore. So if that makes me the villain or whatever, then that's fine. But if you don't know the backstory, like that's not who I am. Like that's your reaction when somebody treats you a certain way over a long period of time. But yeah, again, credit to her for my boob coming out and her happening, because had that not happened, it would have been a whole different fight. But I mean, I don't make excuses. I'll never make excuses, and I'll just keep better and growing and learning and waiting for the next opportunity to come along. Hopefully I'll fight I get my stitches out on Saturday. So I'm hoping to fight by December again.
Is that enough time with the commission and all that?
Yeah, I think we're trying to find out what the suspension is. It's probably either 30 or 60 days or something like that. And I'm not exactly sure what promotion will be for. Hopefully it'll be for bare knuckle. I'm not sure when their next show is yet or anything like that. It could even be a Muay Thai fight, could be an MMA fight. I'll talk to my manager and my coaches and stuff and kind of see what we plan and what's being offered. But the goal is that I'd like to fight by mid-December.
Awesome.
Stay busy, busy, busy.
Yeah. Well, now I guess you get to focus on your meditation and
luckily I'm not injured. I mean, I don't have a concussion or anything. Literally, I just have a cut. So I didn't sustain any kind of injuries or anything like that. So outside of me just like healing up and just taking a few weeks off, I've got a race with my puppy that I'm doing in a few weeks. And outside of that, yeah, just kind of focusing on, maybe just lifting and doing things like that. Nothing too hardcore for a few weeks.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you again in the ring or the cage or on the mats, whatever your heart desires.
Awesome. Thank you so much.